Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 12 on DraftKings is posted. So we're going to make a lineup, a first look lineup from a tournament perspective. I'm going to double stack, bring back, and try and find some other correlation. And in more happy news, DraftKings has loosened up the pricing just a little bit so we can have a little bit of fun with how we're making these lineups this week. The wide receivers are a lot less restrictive. It's not anywhere near being pick 'em. It's not like everything is free and you can fit whatever you want. There's still lineup constraints, but it's not as tight as it was in previous, at least the last 2 weeks, when it was very, very difficult to build lineups, very difficult to find any value. You're funneled onto specific plays. The Millionaire Maker winner was like under 200 points in week 11. I don't think that we're going to see anything similar to that moving forward. No bye weeks this week. Aside from the Monday Night Football and the Thanksgiving slate, we have a very full slate of games. I'm very excited to build these lineups this week, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell. Leave me a reply down below with what you think of the pricing this week after you take a look at some of the lower end wide receivers. Guys, let's go.
He's a legend.
Go check out all the content that I have over on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel. I have like 5 channels on YouTube. This is the one that gets populated aside from the main channel that you're watching right now, with 5 videos every single week, including the recap video, which will be up by the time you're watching this first look video. The week 11 recap video will be up. There's the week 9 recap, going over everything that happened the previous week, how I did in terms of my calls, my cash game lineups, my tournament lineups. We shout out the listener league winners and everything there on that recap video, as well as rankings videos, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and a Rainmakers video every single week, Monday through Friday. 5 different videos to help you get prepared for the weekend in your fantasy football leagues against your friends, as well as that very important recap look at what happened the previous week. Speaking of the listener league, the week 12 listener league, God, the season's just flying by. I don't even know. This one is a special Thursday only league. Okay, 3,000 entries, $10 to enter. You gotta go to the link tree to get there. smizzle.tv/links will take you there. This kicks off on Thursday. Special 3-game slate Thursday Thanksgiving listener league. So make sure that you get in. It's a little bit smaller this week because of the shorter run time, lead time, Monday through Thursday kickoff instead of Sunday morning kickoff. And then next week we'll go back to the normal Sunday full slate, main slate game. I will shout out the top 10 finishers on that recap video on the Fantasy Football channel next Monday. So make sure that you go to smizzle.tv/links and enter the Thanksgiving Listener League today. Here it is for this week. We've got the full slate of games, 11 games on this one. There's some fun games. Look, there's some games that have really low totals, like Denver, Carolina has a total of like 35. I don't remember the last time I saw a game that had a 35 total. Tragically low. We also have some teams that are well above an implied team total of like 24 and a half and up is where you really want to look for the most upside historically from your quarterbacks. Yes, guys that have a team total below that can get there, but a higher probability rate of having that ceiling, that tournament viable game when they have an implied team total above 24. You know who has that every single week? It's Patrick Mahomes, best offense in the league, team total of 29 in this game, coming off of a fantastic game, coming off of 4 fantastic games, 30 fantasy points, 38, 35, 30. Like, Patrick Mahomes is an absolute monster. He's 8,200. He's lost basically all of his wide receivers. You can certainly stack him for tournaments through Travis Kelce, who's 7,700, because of all the injuries that have been sustained by his wide receiver group. So you've got guys that are very cheap now as a result. We're going to have to monitor these situations with Juju Smith-Schuster, who's on got a concussion issue that he's trying to work through with protocols there. Kadarius Toney left this game with one of his 74 hamstring injuries. So that kind of sucked. I was very excited to see him. Hardman is on IR. MVS is only 4,000 this week. I was telling you, they loosened up the pricing a whole lot. And Justin Watson and Sky Moore, both of whom had very good games in the absence of literally all the other guys that were ahead of them on the depth chart. Justin Watson played every single snap in the first half last week. And sorry, I clicked on Justin Watson again. And Sky Moore had kind of a breakout game with 5 catches on 6 targets. The second half of the season is when these rookies start to kind of contribute a little bit more. And now you have the possibility of wrapping Patrick Mahomes around 2 pass catchers and including Travis Kelce as one of them. It's just you're going to have to find a bring back play on the Rams. But with all the injuries that the Rams have sustained, specifically Cooper Kupp, there is value that you could go with in those situations. So Patrick Mahomes way more viable from a double stack bring back possibility this week than in previous weeks. Justin Fields undergoing an MRI on Monday. Hopefully he was okay, because the second-year quarterback has been absolutely tremendous from a fantasy perspective. 23 fantasy points. People are going to look at that and say, wow, what a letdown after 240. Just don't ever expect 40 points out of your quarterback. He's difficult to stack. He just is, because they don't throw the ball very much. They run him, they run Montgomery, they run the second guy, whether it's Herbert or whether it's whoever else is behind him. They're going to try and run the ball like 40 to 50 times a game, because that's where their bread is buttered. Now they're going to play against the Jets, who play very slow also. Do not trust their quarterback to throw it at all. So Fields, if he plays in this one, monitor the situation, because will they run him as much? He ran the ball a ton in the first half, then none in the second half after sustaining that injury in the first. So Fields is a very tough projection for me personally on Monday. We need more information. It's almost like a game of poker where you're asking me to make a decision from under the gun with pocket sevens of how much should I raise here. I'm just gonna just flat call, and I'm gonna wait for more information as the stuff goes around the table approaching Sunday before I make a decision on Fields. We'll know after Thanksgiving exactly what's happening there, if he's going to play this week. Justin Herbert, I have a lot of players that I really root for in the league. I really do. I have a lot of guys that I root for, and guys that I really enjoy watching. Like Justin Jefferson is somebody I love watching. I really like watching Derrick Henry play. It's just these guys that are great. Like, and Justin Herbert is one of those guys. Obviously, I like watching Josh Allen. I like watching Patrick Mahomes. They're amazing. But like, Justin Herbert just does some things that aren't possible for 99% of the other quarterbacks in the league. Yeah, there's a few guys that can do it, but like, he just has this hand cannon where he can throw the ball 70 yards down the field on an absolute rope. And finally, he's got at least one of his receivers back. The Chargers keep forcing guys back too early. Mike Williams wasn't quite ready. He landed. Mike Williams always makes these circus catches that leads to injuries for him. And he re-injured that ankle. But Keenan Allen looked like he was back. Just having him back opened up a lot for Justin Herbert, even though they weren't able to quite get through the leaving too much time on the clock for Patrick Mahomes thing. But did lead a drive in the final few minutes of that game to put them up 20.7 DraftKings points last week. Now squares off against Arizona in one of the higher total games, 47.5 in that one, with the Chargers favored by 3 there. Taking a look down the list, Tua, 6,900, very nice price for him. But though they have made the pricing a little bit easier on us, it's still going to be tough to get Waddle and Hill along with Tua. You can bring this back if you want to. I understand if you don't. Miami's going to have one of the higher team totals. They're favored by 12. 29 is their implied team total. Houston has not done much to help us in terms of finding guys. 4,100 for Collins, I guess you could go with if you want to. Cheapish tight ends too. You could fill that spot and click and pray. Cooks is 5,200. Everybody likes playing Dameon Pierce, but we saw what the floor can be in a game that gets out of hand for them, because they just couldn't run the ball, and he was not very efficient yesterday because they got kind of blitzed by Washington and behind 20 points in the first half. So this is very tough to get to, even with the, I don't know how to put it, the loosened up pricing structure that exists on DraftKings this week. I'm gonna have it, because the philosophy that Miami's gonna win by a ton, and so therefore Tua's not gonna have, like, what if they're up 30-0 at halftime? Well, you know, they're going to be up so much that he's not going to play the fourth quarter. If they're up 40-3, like Dallas was this week, he's probably going to have 3-4 touchdown passes, unless they scored a bunch of weird ones with a kick return and 3-4 rushing touchdowns. The path to that is usually great for a quarterback because of the implied team total. Efficiency, not volume, is what drives quarterback scoring. I'm not telling you to not play Tua stacks this week. I play Tua doubles every single week this season. I'm going to continue doing that this week, but it is tougher because of the opponent, because of not probably having a clear line to somebody getting a lot of volume as a value play, bringing it back. And the pricing is more restrictive on Miami, as it should be, I'm going to go with a Herbert double here. So let's look through this, because as I said, this is a game that is expected to be a little closer in terms of, a back and forth. We know where the targets should theoretically go in this game. I'm not going to be able to afford DeAndre Hopkins in this stack We don't know where he is in terms of Monday night. We don't know where Kyler is because all of that's up in the air for Monday Night Football. So I can't make amazing decisions for you. And we also don't know if next week somebody like Marquise Brown is going to be back. What I do know is that Rondale Moore is going to be in the slot and has been doing tremendous. Hopefully he makes it out of Monday night. 5,100 allows me a little bit of volume. Mike Williams, re-injuring that ankle, said that he was in great shape. They said he was 200% ready. It's impossible to be 200% ready, Mike. You can't be 200. You could be 100% ready. You can't be twice as ready for a game. There's no overage. This giving 110%, you can't give more than you have. Let's stop that. This is math, okay? 6,300. I'm going to say that he might sit out this game. Keenan Allen, 6,100, seems way too cheap for what he brings to the table in a game where they said they were going to kind of pitch count him and manage him, and he's not going to play all the snaps and not going to get his heavy dose of targets that he always gets. 8 targets in limited usage. He looked very spry. I'm happy he's back because of what he does for opening up the game for Herbert, as well as assuming that Mike Allen doesn't play in this game. It's Monday. If that changes, you change with it. Had a fantastic game, a monster game, 2 touchdowns, 10 targets, coming off of 10 targets a week the previous 3 weeks. If I think Palmer operates best as the third guy. He scored that long touchdown, that 50-yarder, when Mike Williams and Keenan Allen were still on the field, and he was allowed to operate against nickel corners. But just having Allen and Eckler out there together really is going to open things up for Joshua Palmer. So I'm going to go with a Palmer, Allen, Moore stack as the primary. Let's look at a couple of the running backs. Eckler is 8,500, his lowest output of the year in terms of targets last night, which is strange considering that it was a game where they were going to have to throw the ball a lot. Only 2 targets for him. Did score another touchdown on the ground. His inside the 5 usage is tremendous and keeps these touchdowns being very sustainable for him. I would expect to bounce back in terms of his targets to 6+ moving forward. 8,500, the correct price for him. I'm isolating to just that. Christian McCaffrey, 8,800. Again, another Monday night guy. We don't have the week 11 results for him. He is going to be splitting time with Elijah Mitchell as they don't want to overload their running backs right now, and they have multiples to go with. He's going to see 70% of the target market share, of the snaps and touches at running back, in my opinion, for the San Francisco 49ers. And with as well as they do scheming things out, he's going to get a lot of scoring fantasy opportunity, as well as being the guy that they've looked to inside the 5-yard line, a very efficient running back in terms of inside the 5 carries over the course of his career on a very dangerous offense. If you want to pay up to get Christian McCaffrey, I'm fine with that. Derrick Henry, matchups don't really matter. What matters is, will the game be close? If they are up or down 7 points, Derrick Henry's going to get his 30 opportunities. It's good to see that their passing game has done better recently. On the last Island game that they played, Treylon Burks looked really good. Finally, that rookie turning into a second half rookie where he's going to start to ramp up and take off, where he doesn't have to think about the things that he's doing throughout the playbook. He can just operate and be an athlete, and they utilized him, as well as Westbrook Ikine as well, has had 2 very good games in a row. All of that kind of helps Derrick Henry. Everybody knows they're just going to pound Derrick Henry constantly, but a 42-yard screen play to him. Throw more screens to Derrick Henry. He's dangerous when you get him the ball on screenplays, as well as being extremely good when you just hand the ball off to him. But this is where he's really dangerous. 1 screenplay a quarter, please. I need a mole in the building. I know a lot of people in Nashville. I got friendly places in that area code. Y'all need to get in the building and just start whispering, throw more screen passes to Derrick Henry. It'll help. It'll help. Josh Jacobs seems to be the volume king. Squares off against Seattle, who has not been efficient at stopping most things. You know that he's going to get the volume whether they're winning or whether they're losing. 4 targets in that game, 8 targets the game before, 22 points in this one, 105 yards rushing against Denver, who people were scared to play him against after what they did the previous week to Henry. 7,700 is more than fair for the amount of usage that he has been getting on that team, no matter whether they win or lose. But Ken Walker is 6,900 against the Raiders, who have been really bad. Now, look, the concern earlier in the year was that Seattle's not throwing the ball to their running backs. There's 3 guys on this offense that everything is running through. It's DK Metcalf, it's Tyler Lockett, and it's Ken Walker III right now. They got crushed against Tampa Bay. You know, the scoreboard, different story, right? But, like, they could not run the football. And that is how they have to operate. Tampa Bay still a very tough rushing defense, and they shut everything down. That did mean that they threw more balls to Ken Walker. I think that this is not a number that we're going to see from Ken Walker most weeks. Definitely not. If he has 8 targets this week, I'd be pleasantly surprised. I think we're going to see more in that 3-4 range, but 3-4 is enough, as I detail with Derrick Henry, especially at home against Las Vegas in a game that they're favored by 4. An easy 5-box running back for this week. I'll plug him in at 6,900, and then we're going to have to find a value play. Well, I mentioned how Miami is favored. I mentioned how Miami is projected to score an awful lot of points, and we have played running backs against Houston literally every week this season. Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to get 50 to 55%, let's say between 45 and 55% of the running back snaps and touches. Got 5 targets last week. This was extremely encouraging to me. Raheem Mostert, also very solid, but since the acquisition of Jeff Wilson Jr., they have been running Wilson Jr. ahead of Mostert. And so I have to read what they're telling us, and it shows us that they're going to play him 50 to 55% of the time, give him 55% of the snaps and touches at running back. You're still going to get a dose of Mostert. That's going to happen. It's not going to be all him. But the touchdown upside is here. The big play upside is here. The fact that they should be ahead in the second half if things go to task. They're up 10 plus points with as big as the holes as this Miami Dolphins offensive line has created. 5,900 is definitely not enough. Jeff Wilson Jr. presents a lot of value for us, leading us to need a tight end and a flex play. Let's just plug in a cheap defense. 2,500 Jaguars defense against Baltimore. Sure. I could make the narrative argument if you want me to for a defense that, like, Lamar Jackson started the season hot, 21, 48, 43, and then has not posted a good day since in terms of fantasy because he has nobody on the outside to pass to. Please, can we get Lamar Jackson some real wide receivers? Bateman's a real wide receiver, but he's hurt. Can we get him some real guys on the outside so that, like, he can do stuff again? Let Lamar be great. Just please let him be great. Tight ends this week. I already mentioned how Travis Kelce was awesome. You know that. I don't need to tell you, coming off of another monster game. It's amazing that, like, 3 years ago, people thought that Travis Kelce was too old, and here he is 3 years later, still doing things like the greatest tight end possibly of all time. He's definitely top 3. No offense to Tony Gonzalez, no offense to Gronk. I personally think it's Gronk, Gonzalez, then Kelce, but, like, Kelce's doing some monster things. You put him in any order you want. I think it's 1, 2, 3, Gronk, then Gonzalez, and then Kelce. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of replies about that though. Mark Andrews, 8 targets last week, 12.3. He is completely tied to the efficiency of his quarterback. If you're going to play Lamar, definitely stack him with Andrews. Kittle, 5,300. We'll wait and see how this Monday night game turns out. Too many weapons right now for me in San Francisco. I talked about this at length on the Monday Night Football video that Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, now CMC, Elijah Mitchell back. Like, it's tough to pick one guy because you want that heavy target market share, and I'm not sure that we're going to get it from, like, any of them moving forward. The most sure guy that's going to get it is CMC because of his rushing plus passing usage, but, like, it's tough to pick a San Francisco player at this point. Everett was hurt. Pitts, the chat was telling me that Pitts is out, suffered an MCL sprain. Chat said that he was out for the year. Confirm that. Like, that's sad. Just such a tough week for him. Tough year for him. What could have been? Pause. I'm gonna have to. It passed. Which now leads us into the value range for tight ends. Higbee, fine. Kmet, I told you, do not expect these 2 touchdowns. Kmet is like a 7 to 10 point a game guy with Fields pretty much every single week, but he is completely touchdown reliant at this point. And with 20 targets a game in total, 20 pass attempts, 25 pass attempts a game in total, very tough to survive as far as that's concerned. Dulcich, middling. All these guys are kind of middling down as the island of Foster Moreau, middling. Like, he's a floor guy. 2, 3, 4 catches, 30 to 40 receiving yards. They're not feeding these guys down in here. Juwan Johnson, he's done a great job of scoring touchdowns, 5 over the last 5 weeks, but again, entirely touchdown dependent. Take 6 points away from this, that's 7 points. Take 6 away from this, that's 9. Take 6 away from this, that's 6. He is completely touchdown reliant, and I don't like having to bet on touchdowns. I want to have a bet on volume. And with the games that he has been healthy, yeah, they got a lot of volume. Here's a tight end that can get there for you on volume in that same range. And then if he scores touchdowns, he's only got 1 on the year because they have 74 tight ends in Cleveland right now between Harrison Bryant and then Who was the other one that dropped a touchdown this week that was right in his, just run David Njoku the way that you were running him early in the season. 6, 7, 8 targets a game should be incoming against Tampa Bay, who is squishier in the middle of the field than they are on the outside. They are very susceptible, not against the run, which you know Cleveland's going to try to establish, but teams do use their tight ends on little short routes in lieu of the run against them. So let me have David Njoku in this spot at only 3,600. I do believe that there's going to be like a 6, 7, 8 target game incoming this week against them, leaving 7,500 for a flex play. We're going to have a little bit of money left over because of the pricing in this range. You want to go with Waddle? You have that option. You want to go with Kamara? You have that option. I'm going to go with T. Higgins against Tennessee in this spot. Really bad defense. I do think that Chase might find his way back onto the field this week. I don't know if he's going to play a full complement of snaps. He might be pitch counted in this one. T. Higgins coming off of 2 really good games, 8 targets, 13 targets, a monster blow up for him with no touchdowns scored in week 11 against Pittsburgh. T. Higgins at a very nice 6,900, giving us our first look lineup for the week. Thank you guys for being here. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.